Angle, one of the most common angles in this is a 72-degree angle. And also its complementary angle. If you remember from geometry, a complementary angle is an angle when added to a given angle adds up to 90 degrees. So when I did this, for these portions, not so much the ray here, I'll get that later, but for all these portions, once I had that angle set that would be sent through the blade saw, I didn't change this. I kept this constant. So every time I did a cut, I knew it would fit the one I did before. And so if you'll notice then, this angle right here is 72 degrees. This angle right here is 72 degrees. All of these boards are cut 72 degrees. This angle right here is 72 degrees. Of course, the pentagon blades, they're all based on 72 degrees except you cut off the tip. And this right here is actually 18 degrees. That's a complementary angle. So I was able to do all of these angles with one setting on my saw. And so that helped, I think, to have planned it that way. Now, the angles that are not those angles are these beam angles, and those I kind of did freehand. But I used a strad edge to make them straight, and I did those on a skill saw. And the other angles that are not fit that are these two pieces. And those two pieces are there because, you know, some of the boards, after I got the tree and it's cut off, this had bark on it, and I thought, I could have left that bark in there. That might have made it interesting. But I decided to cut it off. And so I thought, well, I'll make people think that I really delivered on this and put another piece over here. So it looks symmetrical. I don't know, I guess it doesn't have to be symmetrical, but it's turning out that way. That was in doing the angles. Then the other aspect that in dealing with this, some of the things I thought about when I did the plan. This walnut piece, if you notice, I put the grain so it kind of goes in a circle. So if you're viewing that in your mind's eye, you might think that that's whirling. And so I wanted to make sure the grain was situated that way. When I did this piece with the coyotes and the stars and the moon, I used my skill saw. And the way I did that was I took the walnut and I took the oak and I wrapped it all with masking tape. And then I drew the design on the masking tape. And that helps hold it together. And it also prevents it from splittering, although I didn't notice very much splittering happening with the walnut. But that held it all together so that when I got done, I could just exchange pieces. And see, for this is the piece that came from that. See, this piece, I had this piece and that piece taped together when I saw it, so that when I got done sawing it, I exchanged the pieces, so that fits perfectly. I'm really pleased with how precise that looks. You know, some of this other stuff, you know, you can see cracks and spaces, you know, where maybe isn't that defined, but for that case it is. And then one of the other little serendipity things that happened in doing this, and I like to point out to you, is I didn't realize that when I was cutting out that coyote, that there was a knot, a natural knot in the wood. And it turned out that knot is located right where you would expect an eye for that coyote. So I decided that must be a Presbyterian coyote. It was predestined. So then now as I said before, because I did these at different time periods, some slicing of this wood, They, of course, didn't come out all the same width. And so you'll notice that, you know, originally I thought I had in my mind that I was just going to have a perfectly smooth tabletop and everything's going to be the same layer. As it turns out, it isn't. But then I got to thinking about it, you know, I don't think West Texas is perhaps perfectly polished and smooth. That ruggedness is probably the part of the character of West Texas. And the other thing is, I noticed, you know, like, see, that's lower in the wood than the rest of the wood. The other thing is that when you put light on this in different directions, it creates different shadows. And so it kind of has a different mood when light changes on it. And I'm thinking, you know, in nature, that happens. In a landscape, it looks different when it's full sun than it does when there's a sunset because the shadows come in and out. So I decided I like it that way. But you couldn't set anything on top of it, because, like a glass or something, because it isn't smooth. So Marge bought this, put it on top of it.
I also bought it because the grandkids thought it was a puzzle.
Yeah, because, by the way, none of this is glued down. Only this part is kind of glued down, this kind of part is glued down, but it's really just a puzzle yet. Because I wasn't sure whether I wanted to make any changes, and I think I'll just leave it this way. But if anybody ever takes this out and they drop it, they're gonna they won't know how to put it together.
You need to glue it down for posterity.
So anyway, so that's my statement on the fact that the wood is not the same width. But
Dale,
if I had to do over again, yeah.
Dale, what did you use to plane the surface of the board?
I didn't. It's just my saw.
You just
My saw, and I sanded a little.
Okay.
But I just, you know, I didn't plane any of it. If I had tried to do that, I think they would have really been different widths. You know, so, but I found, this is what I use now. This is scrap that I had from my shed that I built back there. And this is an idea that I got from Handy. You know, one of the problems with sawing something that's that thin, and you have a table saw, is that when, first of all, you can't use the guard that goes over the blade, because it's, you know, in the way. The wood is, you know, it doesn't fit, right? And also, wood can oftentimes buck on you. And, I mean, one day I was doing this limb, and a piece went from the garage through the garage door and landed in the garden out there. I didn't tell Marge about that. But that really went back there with a lot of force.
But you still have all your
Yeah, I still have them. But anyway, this is called a shoe. The description of this in the magazine. This is called a shoe. And what you do now is you put the fence, called the fence. It's a guard that goes across the table saw. And then you line this up with the blade. And you put your piece in here and you just shove it through. And it's very simple, it goes quick, and you get 1/2 inch thickness every time.